In this lecture, I'm going to talk about beginning and ending your essays, as well as the various sections of the essay. Now we start with the beginning. In an essay or an article, these are the introduction. And in your introduction, or your beginning, you need to establish the context. Now the context has to come before your work because it influences how things are interpreted and what meaning or effect the reader takes away from your writing. You also establish within the context the circumstances surrounding the event, the situation, the research, whatever it might be. This is also the time you're going to explain the frame, which is how you're structuring the paper. Whether you're going from the least important details to the most important details, or from the most important to the least important, the frame is that structure. You need to explain that in the introduction. You also need to explain what exactly it is you're writing about, what your topic is. And you're going to describe what will follow. So you give a brief preview of any support that your thesis statement will require. That leads us to the thesis statement. Now the thesis statement should be towards the end of the paragraph. It should realistically almost always be the last sentence in your introduction paragraph. Now, sometimes you'll find that the thesis statement from professional writers comes at the second to last or even third from last statement. But for most undergraduates, it's best if your thesis statement is the last sentence in your paragraph. The final point on this slide is that you should write your introduction paragraph last. Now it's still going to come first in your paper. Physically, it will be first. It'll be the first thing your reader reads, the first thing they see. But it should be the last thing you write. So it still needs to be paragraph number 1. But you write it after you've written the thesis statement, after you've written the body, and after you've written your conclusion. The reason for this is very simple. The introduction is a prediction of what is to come. You see, the reader will take the introduction and understand what they're about to read. But you can't predict what is to come unless you already know. The best fortune tellers don't tell you about potential future. They actually tell you about the past. So when you're writing your introduction, you're being a fortune teller, but you're being a good fortune teller by writing about something that you already know is a certainty. How the rest of the essay already looks. By writing the introduction last, you can accurately predict exactly what the reader will see. Now endings come after the body. This is where your conclusion is. In a good conclusion, you do not use trigger phrases like in conclusion, to conclude, in summary, and other such trigger phrases that alert the reader that it's a conclusion. A good conclusion doesn't need those. A good conclusion is understood to be a conclusion because of the way it is structured. In a conclusion, you summarize what has been written throughout the rest of the essay. Briefly summarize. And you restate the main idea. Now the main idea is your thesis statement. You're not going to rewrite the thesis statement in the exact same words. Instead, you're going to paraphrase the thesis statement and remind the reader what it is that this whole essay or this whole other kind of writing was about. Also in your conclusion is your discussion of what exactly this thing you've written might imply. If it has implications beyond itself, if more research is needed, or if perhaps something needs to be done, this is the time to do it. This is what's called a call to action. So if your essay were about encouraging people to donate blood, and your thesis statement said that people should donate blood because it is easy to do and life-saving and is their civic duty, this would be the place to have a call to action which says something like, so, as we have seen, donating blood is your civic duty, and you should go out and donate blood now because the life you save may be your own. Now, it sounds cheesy, it sounds hokey, but that's what a call to action does. Your conclusion is not simply where you stop writing. Your conclusion leaves the reader thinking about something, and it gives them something to do. Maybe it's a call to action and they're now supposed to go do this thing. Or maybe they need to think about what more could be said about it, or what that event implies, or what more research could be done. A conclusion also engages the reader. It's not simply where you quit writing. Now we need to discuss the parts of an essay, the sections. You do not title the sections when you're writing for this class. Now, other classes may ask you to title your sections, and certain academic styles require you to do so. But for this class, you will not title your sections. But you do need to remember the purpose, the audience, the genre, the stance, and the media and design. These are your rhetorical situation. Your purpose is why you're writing it. And that's not something as simple as because it was assigned. Your purpose is to educate or to entertain or to inform your reader of something. Your audience is going to be influenced by your purpose. Your audience may be a general audience. It may be an academic audience. It may be a well-informed technical audience. And in any of those situations, the language you use and the tone that you use to address the audience is different. You need to keep in mind your genre as you write through the entire essay. If it is an informative paper or a narrative paper or a research paper, those are various genres, and they're treated differently. You also need to keep up with your stance. This is how you feel about your topic. This is what it is you're defending. And finally, we have media and design. Now, for the purposes of this class, the media and design, quite simply, are essays and essay-looking things which have been typewritten and uploaded into Blackboard. Sometimes, though, your media and design will change. For other classes, you might find that you're asked to do a presentation, and you still need to remember the rest of the rhetorical situation, but a presentation is a different media and design. You might be asked to do a poster. You might be asked to write a short story. All of these are different from the essay. Now, your title is a very important piece of your paper because it entices the reader. It invites them to read it. It engages them with your work. If you don't engage the reader, they become bored and stop reading. A good title will help you focus your writing. Your thesis statement. Simply stated, your thesis statement is what your topic is and what you are claiming about that topic. So, what's it about and what's your point? This topic and that point are the focus of the entire essay. Every paragraph, including the introduction and conclusion, support the thesis statement. And every sentence within each of those paragraphs further lends support to the thesis statement. The thesis statement controls the entire essay. This is contrasted by the topic sentence. Your topic sentence is the focus of a paragraph. Every paragraph's got one, including the introduction. But the topic sentence of the introduction is not your thesis statement. Topic sentences are usually the first sentence of every paragraph, whereas the thesis statement is the last sentence of the introduction. So your introductory paragraph has both a topic sentence, which is its first sentence, and a thesis statement, which is its last. When moving between paragraphs, you need to use transitions. These provide natural movement in writing. If you do not use transitions, writing becomes stilted and jarring and can confuse the reader. A confused reader is not likely to finish reading what you have written. So if you're writing your paper about donating blood and you've talked about how it's easy and it saves lives and it's a civic duty, and then suddenly you talk about the rights of man, if you don't have appropriate transitions, your reader will become quickly confused. Now, there is a way to connect the rights of man to donating blood, but it's through those transitions where it becomes easier to understand. You can't expect your readers to understand what you mean. They don't. You have to explain it to them. Transitions like cause and effect or comparison, changes in direction, examples, sequences, timeline, summaries, any of that help to smooth out the writing. Remember to use transitions. They're important. Now, your essays should be neatly typed in Times New Roman 12. You should indent the first line of every paragraph. You should use double spacing, and so on. If you have any questions whatsoever about how the mechanics of the essay work, please feel free to email me. That's at anelso17@epcc.edu, and I'll be happy to clear up any confusion or answer any questions you might have. Have a good day.